How's it going, everybody? Today we are going to talk about one of the wild, bizarre things that could happen to you if you go outside. It's something that happens everywhere on Earth, but somehow we don't notice it. And this thing is disappearing. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what is happening with our planet and why it seems like our planet is disappearing every time we look at it. So make sure to stay till the end because I'm going to reveal everything. Let's start right now. Have you ever had this kind of experience? You were walking on the street or hiking up the mountain, and all of a sudden you stop for a moment. You see a pool of water reflecting the sky and the clouds. It looks real, but it's not. The reflected image is upside down, and it seems like there is a layer of water between you and the mountains. Because of these characteristics, it's easy to confuse it with a body of water, and people often mistake it for a lake or an ocean. But after years of thinking and researching this issue, I finally found out what actually causes this effect, and I'll tell you all about it. It creates an air pocket with a different density than the air above it. And you will start noticing that everything seems to shimmer and move just slightly. You will start seeing how the world is not as solid and stable as it seems. You will realize that our planet is actually disappearing every time we look at it. For example, in Antarctica, the cold air near the ice creates mirages that can be seen for miles. Instead, it means that the way we perceive the world around us is based on the information that our brain receives through our eyes and ears. Everything around us is in a constant state of flux, and nothing is as stable as it appears. So keep exploring and asking questions, and who knows what you might find out. Even the ground beneath our feet is constantly shifting and moving. Although we don't usually notice these changes because we are too focused on the details. Stepping back and observing the bigger picture reveals the dynamic and ever-changing nature of our surroundings. Photons travel through the air, and when they hit the surface of an object, they are reflected and sent to our eyes. Our brains then process this information and create an image of the object. For example, when we listen to sounds, we receive information about the world around us in the form of sound waves. These sound waves travel through the air, and when they hit an object, they are reflected and sent to our ears. Our brains then process this information and create a sound image of the object. However, as the sound waves travel through the air, they also change speed and direction due to changes in air density. This change in speed and direction causes the sound waves to interfere with each other, creating patterns of constructive and destructive interference. The result is a sound that seems to shimmer and change over time. This is why when we listen to music, it seems like the notes are fading in and out. Or when we talk to someone outside during windy conditions, their voice seems to disappear and reappear. However, the photons that reflect off objects don't just bounce off the surface. They also refract, which means they bend as they pass through the air. This refraction is caused by the change in density of the air molecules as they move from one location to another. And this information is always changing. Our brain uses this information to create a model of the world around us. But this model is not perfect, and it's not always accurate. When light enters this air pocket, it bends because of the change in density. Then it reaches the boundary between the two layers of air again and gets reflected. The light ray bounces back towards the observer. By the time they reach our eyes, they no longer form a clear image of the object, but instead they appear distorted and shimmering. This distortion makes it seem like the object is disappearing and reappearing. A mirage is an example of a type of optical illusion known as a reversal of roles, which is basically the bending of light due to a change in density of a medium through which it is passing. It can be caused by many different factors, such as temperature, humidity, pressure, and the composition of the atmosphere. Now this happens multiple times, and each time the light ray bounces, it changes direction because of the change in density. As a result, the image gets distorted and can even be inverted. You pause, you take a deep breath, and then you realize something strange has happened. In fact, I'd love to hear about your experience with mirages in the comments section below. They are a natural phenomenon that can occur almost everywhere on Earth. Sometimes they are weak, and sometimes they can be really strong. Mirages can happen when the sun is shining or when it's cloudy, rainy, or foggy. They can occur in cities, in the mountains, in forests, in fields, and they can even happen inside buildings. What do you think they are? How do they work? What have you seen? Let me know, because I'm really interested. Everything around you is just slightly different than it was before. But for now, let's stick to the most common type, which is called a fata morgana. It's an optical illusion caused by the reflection of light through multiple surfaces of air that have different densities. As a result, the light bends and it creates a distorted image above the horizon. Like if you remember what you saw in this particular place last time, now when you come back here, it's not the same. The view is somehow different. Either the colors are more intense or maybe some things are missing. And you cannot really understand what is going on. I've personally experienced this many times, especially when I was traveling around South America, and it always scared the hell out of me because I could unexplain this phenomenon. Now, have you ever heard of a mirage? If yes, what do you know about it? Actually, there are many kinds of mirages, and I'll talk about them more in detail in the next video. For example, imagine standing in Death Valley and looking towards the distant mountains. What happens is that the air close to the hot ground is heated and becomes less dense. Mirages are pretty common in deserts, but they can also happen anywhere where there is a big difference in temperature between the ground and the air above it. But the truth is that mirages are not only happening in places with extreme temperatures. Now this might sound incredible, but it's true. Atea and scientists can explain it. So the next time you go outside, try to observe everything around you. Look at the trees, buildings, and mountains. It's important to understand that this phenomenon doesn't mean that our planet is actually disappearing, or that we are losing our minds. So what happens is that our brain receives information about the world around us in the form of photons, which are particles of light. So as photons travel through the air, they constantly change direction due to refraction. As I mentioned earlier, this phenomenon is not limited to mirages, and it affects our perception of the world in many other ways. These phenomena may seem like minor quirks of our perception, but they actually reveal the true nature of reality. Remember that the world is full of wonders, and there is always something new to discover. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.